Preparations are well underway for the ANC Elective Conference, and provinces have been making pronouncements on their preferred candidates. We now speak to political analyst Prof Bheki Mngomezulu on some of the candidates and the issues surrounding the step-aside rule. Prof, good morning to you and thank you very much for your time. Let's start with the number of presidential candidates when it comes to this upcoming conference of the ANC in December. Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma now nominated. You have Dr. Zweli Mkhize also being spoken about. There's a candidate that's long been on the lips of some ANC people, and that is Lindiwe Sisulu. And there are yet more candidates that I suspect we're going to hear about. Your analysis, your assessment of why there is such a proliferation of candidates. I know that at some point this party said, no, this proves that democracy is at work in the ANC. Is that indeed truly the case, that it's democracy at work?
No, thank you very much, Putkori, for having me, and good morning to your viewers as well. No, it's a combination of factors. On the one hand, I wouldn't necessarily totally dismiss the view that it's reflective of a democratic consolidation when you see so many people availing themselves for the position. But that is just one explanation. The other explanation is that individuals within political parties, and in this case within the governing party, are basically concerned about their own political future, and therefore they are availing themselves primarily for that reason. Partly because you and I know that politicians have amassed political power, and then subsequently that has led to them also having economic power / financial power. So those are some of the explanations. There could be many more, of course. I'm just highlighting this few in the interest of time. So it's quite concerning. In fact, in 2017, you recall that we had 7 candidates from the ANC who wanted to lead the organization. And then, of course, at the moment, as you correctly alluded to, we are not sure yet as to how many there will be, but some names have been floated around, but we don't know what the final list will be. Whether it will be 7 or below 7 or even above 7, those are all possibilities.
Let's talk about the quality then of at least some of the names and faces that we have been beaming on our screens as you were talking. Counted among these presidential candidates is the name of Dr. Zweli Mkhize, and that name gaining traction particularly in KZN. The suggestions are that, he seems to enjoy a lot of support. Why are we focusing on the quality? It's because of the allegations that have surrounded his name since his departure from the health department. Why should South Africans continue to have faith in a party that would put up someone's name with such serious accusations against him? And these accusations, by the way, have not been concluded, not by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I'm glad that you're asking that question, because let's take 3, in fact. Let's take the president, the sitting president, and then we take Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, and then we take Dr. Zweli Mkhize. We may then also add Lindiwe Sisulu if we want to. But if we stick with these 3. Starting with the president, some people within the organization, including Tony Yengen and many others, they are asking the question, on what grounds would you want to give the president a second chance? And coupled with that, the second question is, on what grounds would you, in fact, give a nod to the current leadership that emerged in 2017? Because a lot of promises were made and very few, close to nothing, has happened. So then we was asking the question then, is it really necessary for us to retain these people? And we was in a way, tacitly asking the question we are asking in terms of quality. And then you look at the president, there is also a cloud still hanging over his head, the Phala matter, although no formal charges have been laid against him. So already we have a question mark there. And then we take Dr. Zweli Mkhize, the digital vibe issue is still out there. although the Parliamentary Ethics Committee cleared him, but the NPA and the Hawks have not finalized their issue, so it means there is a cloud hanging over him as well. And then we look at Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, at least thus far, we are not aware of any pending issues. And then some might say then, okay, give her a chance then, given the fact that she was almost there in 2017 until at the very last moment, then the sitting president won the election with a mere 179 votes. So there is a lot at stake that is happening here, and then we'll just watch the space and see what happens. Because hypothetically speaking, if, for instance, the NPA formally lays charges against the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, then already you have a problem. If they formally lay charges against Dr. Zweli Mkhize, you have a problem. So it means the list that we are going to have might in fact change depending on how fast or how quick the NPA acts on the allegations.
If we look then at the quality of issues or debates that are going to be pronounced on by these candidates as we inch closer to December, already Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma brave enough to tackle the issue of step aside. Is she likely to endear herself to the South African public when, starting out of the blocks, she says, I have a problem with step aside? This is a regulation, or this is a rule in the ANC that is supposed to at least give a glimmer of hope that corruption is finally being dealt with. Yes, the people that are affected by this rule are not pronounced on by the courts. The courts have not said they are guilty, but there is a scandal, there's a cloud over their heads. How are South Africans to react towards someone like that? Because that person, by the way, should the ANC win elections in 2024, immediately becomes president.
Thank you for that question, Butkoli. You know, I've been vindicated by this interview which Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma had, because I've been making this point several times, saying that the step-aside resolution of the ANC was taken with good intentions in 2017. But when it comes to its implementation, there have been a number of challenges with it, which is why the NEC has amended it, I think twice to be exact, meaning that it was not clear enough for it to be able to satisfy all members of the party and those who are in leadership positions. But having said that, when it comes to your main question with regards to Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, people are going to be divided into two groups. The first group is going to say that, okay, we hear what Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma is saying, but when did she become aware of this? And then, of course, was she not part of the collective that took a decision in 2017? Why now? So that will be one group that will be asking those questions. Then the other group is going to say that, yeah, indeed, here is someone who is watching the space and is dealing with the reality on the ground. Because in the implementation phase of the step-aside resolution, it has divided the organization. There is no doubt about that. So if she's bold enough to articulate that, some may then say, here is a leader who is not afraid to say, yes, we took a decision and we thought it was going to assist the organization, but during the implementation phase, we've realized that the opposite is true, and therefore we have to revisit it and put it aside. Because as she said it in the interview, some people have been accused of certain wrongdoing, and then, of course, they've been put in the cold for more than 3 years without their cases being heard. So which means that the moment you are suspected of something, and then there are formal charges laid against you, you are in the cold for an indefinite period, which then doesn't do well for the organization. So I think people will be divided into those two viewpoints, and correctly so.
Let's wrap it up then, Professor Mngomezulu, and we wrap it up with an ongoing event that's taking place at Gallagher Estate, the COSATU conference. That conference is going to elect a new leadership. Why am I bringing COSATU into the equation? Well, COSATU matters when it comes to ANC politics as well, because they are an alliance partner, and some of them, indeed, if not all of them, they are members of the ANC. The very person on the screen right now is the president of that federation, Zingiswa Losi. she has not been afraid to voice her dissatisfaction when it comes to the commentary of someone like Lindiwe Sisulu, for example. Why should COSATU continue to align itself with the ANC when it does appear, Professor, that they don't seem to enjoy support of ordinary workers? Whom is their primary target because of this close alliance with the ANC? And I'm not saying that that's the only thing, by the way, that puts off potential members.
What has been happening, my brother, is that this tripartite alliance of ANC, SACP, and COSATU, it has a history behind it. So you may find that there are individuals in each of the three segments of this coalition, of this partnership or alliance, who are holding different views, but then they come back home and then say, okay, if I were to pull out of this alliance, what would be my political future? And then if the answer is it will be a terrible one, then they say, okay, I might as well remain within the organization or within the alliance. So in a nutshell, there are people who have remained in the alliance against their conscience, but because they are more worried about material and financial gains, and then they remain in the alliance. That is why you hear them saying one thing and doing the other. And the status quo will remain for as long as politics becomes a vehicle to lead you to a better position.
Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, I wouldn't have put it better. I'm desperate to let you go. So let me put this final one to you. Do you think that President Cyril Ramaphosa still enjoys the support of workers in COSATU, given what has been seen as a betrayal? What am I talking about? That 2018 last implementation of the salary increases. Remember, they used to conclude 3 wage agreements, and they will conclude them, and so its implementation throughout those 3 years. Well, that last leg, it couldn't be implemented because government said we simply cannot afford. So workers have seen that as a betrayal. Do you think that going into this conference in December, he is going to enjoy the support of people who are not just COSATU members, but also ANC members?
Not at all, not at all. People might support the president, but for different reasons. Not because he has delivered on the mandate that was given to him in 2017, not because he has satisfied the wishes of members of COSATU, but for any other reasons, some of which might be personal, others might be looking at the political future and all of that. But the reality of the matter is, some of the people who had supported him wholeheartedly in 2017, they are no longer there this time around because they've been disappointed and they feel they've been left out.
Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, thank you very much for your time.